Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Straight from the Drafts. I've got a solo episode for you today, and this one's inspired by some conversations I've been having recently, plus something that one of my teachers said to me years back. And so I'm basically using this episode as a chance to blur all of that out, get it out of my head, and somewhere in all of this probably quite passionate ranting, I hope to inspire you. And the underlying theme of the next few solo episodes is going to be that feeling of disconnect between being an expert in your industry, but feeling like you're not quite showing up as the expert online. Starting today with perspective and attitude, because we've got to start in a go-getter headspace. Otherwise, I promise it's really not worth listening to any of the other episodes. So let's get into it. You've been building your business for however long you've been building it, right? Maybe that's months, maybe that's years. But either way, what I know for sure is your business is doing something that you're pretty good at. There's some sort of value there that you can bring to people, whether that's your skills, your knowledge, you know that you can help. And yes, I know it might be uncomfortable to admit that, but the reality is if you're charging money for something, then I'd hope that you truly believe in that fact, even if, as a Brit, it makes you a bit squeamish to admit that. So we both know that you're good at what you do. You've got great relationships with your clients. You can sit and chat about your area of expertise till you're blue in the face. But if you've clicked on today's episode title, my guess is you don't quite know how to show up as that same expert online. When it comes to creating content, it feels a bit more like a performance, like you've got to act like an expert. You've got to prove you're the expert. So let's just focus on that element for a sec, and I'll come back to this again later. But please hear me when I say this. When you're with your clients, when your phone is on the side somewhere or a camera isn't pointed at you, you're just chatting away doing your thing. You're an expert, right? We both agree on that. So what is it that the second you pick up your phone or open up that camera that makes you forget all that? Because you're not playing at being an expert, you are an expert. You might not be an expert at social media or at content, but that's not what anybody is looking for from you, at least not the ideal clients that you're trying to speak to. They're looking for your offer and an alignment of personalities and values. For example, a calm, talented photographer who has the patience and the hacks to get their kids to smile on a family photo shoot. They're looking for a brand designer who pays attention to the details and can see the vision for the business that they can see themselves. Or they're looking for a personal trainer that they can feel safe with and they can share their insecurities, their goals, and know that they're in safe hands to get the results that they want without being made to feel any shittier about themselves than they already do. Online, offline, you are that person always. So why is there a gap? Where's that coming from? In my experience, it comes from over-consuming what other people are sharing. Over-consuming content from other people in your industry, but also over-consuming sort of general hacks, tips, advice from online experts. Because the advice tends to be conflicting. You read about algorithm changes constantly or how you need to be using trial reels. And it all feels so much to take in. And even the stuff that could be super, super helpful just isn't. Because what your brain hears is, here's loads of stuff that you don't know, silly you. And then you've also got, on top of that, content from other business owners. You open up Instagram, you see 5 other people who provide a similar service to you, plus a whole host of other business owners, maybe in completely different industries, but they're also creating content and you're sat there thinking, that's better than mine. And you've already decided that you can't do it, or that the content that you create isn't going to be as good. So then when you try to replicate something that they've done, it all just feels a bit like a knockoff version because the video isn't quite as slick as theirs. The editing is just basic. You don't speak as well as they do. You try to follow all the conflicting hacks that you've consumed, and suddenly a piece of content that is maybe your story sounds nothing like you. And that piece of content then either sits in your drafts, just teasing you while you continue scrolling, and you confirm to yourself like you absolutely should not post it because look at all this great content that's already out there, and you tell yourself that you've got nothing new to add, or that someone has already said what you want to say and they've said it better than you. Or maybe best case scenario, you post it but with no love for it. There's no excitement behind it, and you're not sharing something that you feel super passionate about and super proud of. It's just like, ugh, that'll do. And you kind of think, this better work, otherwise, what the frig is the point? Now, if you're in the second scenario where you do actually post it, even if it's not with a whole heap of love, then first of all, I applaud you because at least you've put it out there. But I do also know that posting is just the first hurdle, because once you've posted, you then open yourself up to a second wave of self-judgment based on the results that that content gets. So let's say that you've got 800 followers. That piece of content gets 10 likes. But then, once you've hit post, you're still online, you start scrolling through and you see posts with 10 times that number of likes, maybe some comments, maybe some shares. And you think, oh, well, mine must be rubbish. Because you've not really done the maths and looked at those accounts and seen that the people with 100 likes actually have 8,000 followers, which means your ratios aren't actually all that different. And before I continue spiraling down this very negative path, because no one wants to listen to that, I'm going to interrupt myself here and just say that this is so natural. It's so normal for us to do. I've seen so many business owners go down this same spiral, and sometimes you just need someone to do exactly what I'm doing now. Interrupt that thought pattern and pull you up on it. And point out that difference in audience size, point out that the person whose content that you're comparing to actually has a whole team behind them and expensive camera equipment that they've invested thousands into. Or time, they've been creating content for years, and actually it also started scrappy. Their first video was also awkward, but they just kept at it. And you're only seeing their content now appear on your feed after years and years of practice and investment. So here's what you kind of need to get comfy with, and the perspective shift that we need to have. You will always be able to find someone who creates better content than you. Always. Because content creation is a real full-time, skilled, paying job right now. Whether that's people doing it for themselves or as freelancers, as team members for content creators that you see, you need to get comfy with getting scrappy and being a beginner again if you're just starting out. And this is where the passion comes from here for me, because the reason that I get so riled up about this and feel so strongly about it is because of the types of people that I see who do this to themselves, who convince themselves that they're not good enough. They're actually brilliant, talented, genuine business owners who hold themselves back because they feel like their good isn't good enough. And I think there's two ways that people deal with this fact that there's always going to be someone who creates better content than you. There's team one. These are the audacious, big energy gals. They see that content and think, okay, that's what's possible. And they just go harder. They use it as fuel, as inspiration. And then there's team two. And I think this is most of us, and it's most probably you listening. You're in the, but no, I'm just not good at it, so it's never going to work for me camp. And this is my message to you that a teacher told me years and years ago. You've got clever child syndrome. You got used to being an expert. Yes, you work hard, absolutely, but the work isn't hard, if that makes sense. You don't struggle with your actual job. You know your stuff. You're a natural. You were born to do what you do right now. So when you come up against something that feels tricky, that makes you feel like a beginner again, like creating content, you start to pull back and you question it and you question yourself and you think, I must be doing something wrong. If it's not easy, I've got to be doing something wrong. Nope. Incorrect. Sometimes things are hard. Breaking news. Sometimes things just require us to put in the reps. And full disclosure, I am in that team with you. I hate being a beginner. I despise it. I literally shy away from group sports and new hobbies as an adult because I don't like that feeling. Like if someone's ever like, recently, so many people are getting into paddle. Like, no, why don't you try paddle? No, because I don't know if I can do it. So I'd rather not find out. So I completely understand. It feels safer to stay in your expert bubble. In business, it feels safer to stay in your real life world with your real clients who you know will give you great feedback because your service is top notch. That feels safer rather than trying this new thing showing up online, which you might not look like an expert at. Because what if someone mistakes your lack of content expertise for a lack of expertise in your craft? So I just want to make clear here that I'm not saying any of this out of judgment. I'm calling it out because I think it's so helpful to have it reflected back to you, because I recognize this in myself and I recognize it in my clients. And when you recognize the behaviors, you can change the behaviors. And I also know that this is not like a, ugh, but Becky's content's better than mine, jealous, like shrug your shoulders, have a tantrum kind of response. This is a, I know I'm capable of more frustration. I know that I'm good at what I do, but if I post crappy content, people will think that I provide a crappy service. It's a worry. So I'm not judging, because I think if you're recognizing this in yourself and you're relating to what I'm saying here, I kind of want to ease that worry and make sure that you're not judging yourself for it, because all of this is coming up because you want to be better. And I actually think that that is a brilliant thing. It's great that you want your content to be better. I mean, thank God you care. Huge green flags from you. Do you know how many absolute frauds are out there right now? Not giving two shits. They talk the talk, but they are walking their clients down a garden path behind the scenes, not delivering half the service that they've so boldly shouted about. Whereas you've got the reverse problem. Your content is not doing your expertise and your service justice. And I would much rather you be in that position, because your content can have such a huge impact on your business if it's already a great business. Bad content can't save a shit service. So if we can make your content work even harder for you, gorgeous. I want that for you. But, shock, I didn't come out of the womb knowing how to edit reels the way I do now. And I'm better than I was this time last year and the year before that, because I have put time into figuring out a way that works for me and the investment into the software to help me do it. And I've been talking on stories for probably 5, maybe 6 years now. My early ones were awkward as fuck. And you might think like, Nao, it's okay for you, this is your job. But I started as a social media manager, right? So I can manage other people's content without doing some of that stuff. And when I started as a social media manager, reels were barely a thing. Content was so different to what it is now. So I have still had to develop these skills. And yes, I've had more time to put into it. I've put more reps in because I've not just been doing it for myself, but I've been doing it for other people as well. But there's so many social media managers who aren't showing their face on stories, aren't talking to camera, and have still built really successful businesses helping other people do it. So just because someone works in social media doesn't always mean that they're a complete natural at it. We've got to put the reps in, and content can work for you, but only if you stick at it. Only if those drafts make it onto the grid. Only if we don't let the awkwardness of filming our first reels be our last attempt. I actually had a conversation with a business pal literally yesterday, 2 days ago, as you're listening to this, about how we've got to be willing to invest, either with our time or with our money. So we've either got to figure it out or outsource. And I think it's just unfortunately part of the deal. And we've got to start feeling excited by that challenge and getting on board with that and being like, right, let me roll my sleeves up and figure this stuff out. And that's going to get you results way quicker than if you just sit on your cactus and complain that it's sharp. And I really recommend that in that, you also take a second to evaluate what time you do have and be kind to yourself on this journey as well. I so often have these chats with people, or will maybe create a social media strategy or get them some real clarity, and they get really fired up and like, yeah, I'm going to post every day. Please don't do that. Or at least take a minute to plan before you even attempt to do that. Because I love the enthusiasm, I really do. But the reality is that it's most likely a shortcut to burnout, and you'll get sick of all this all over again. Equally, if you're a single parent, for example, you might want to be realistic with not just your time, but your energy as well. What can you actually commit to? Will you give yourself the grace to grow and get confident with this stuff, maybe at a slightly slower pace than someone else who maybe still lives with their parents or lives alone and has nobody relying on them? Because we're being go-getters, but we're also being realistic about what that looks like for us, please. And in the next solo episode, I'm moving on from this sort of mindset piece and pep talk to actually getting stuck into what this looks like practically. I'm really trying to start answering that question. Right now, I'm on board, I'm ready to show up, I'll put the work in, but where the fuck do I start? And side note, I'm assuming if you've got this far into today's episode, then you've hopped off your social media hating cactus. But if you really do want to continue hating on Instagram, for example, then I'll also be covering that in the next episode. Pick a different platform. There's plenty to choose from. I'm not a sales rep for any of them. I'm not going to force you onto Instagram if that's not the platform for you. So lots to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time. And I just want to finish by reiterating something that I said right at the beginning. You are the expert. This isn't you playing at being the expert when your phone comes out and the camera hits record. You've actually got all that expertise that people are looking for. And if you focus on what you genuinely bring to the table, if you focus on the people that you want to help and the people you want to speak to, and think about the stuff that you share with your real clients in real life every single day, then you'll be setting yourself up for success way more than you're giving yourself credit for right now. So I'm going to be back with a guest episode next week, and we'll pick this back up the following Wednesday. So I will see you there. Until then, I hope you have a gorgeous rest of your week. Bye. Hello. Don't mind me just tagging on a quick note here. If you resonated with this episode and it's hit home for you, then I would love to see you over on Instagram at Social by Nao, where you can find out more about my one-to-one content coaching service, Skip the Scroll. This is designed for expert service providers like you who are absolutely brilliant at what they do, but need some help translating that into their online presence. Together, we'll work on exactly what you want people to know you for and who you want to speak to, along with a plan of what types of content you should post so that you can do all of that without completely cringing. I'll leave the links in the show notes below, and as always, feel free to send me a DM if you've got any questions or thoughts off the back of this episode. Okay, that really is it this time. Bye!